Well, this building was built by Amos Orton in 1856, and it was a grist mill. Amos Orton moved here from New York State in the 1830s, and he built a mill pond, which is really why Ortonville is here, because he built this mill pond, because when you have a mill pond, now you have a source of power for things like grist mills and sawmills, etc. Amos Orton moved here because he thought the railroad was going to come through this spot. And so he was kind of a land speculator in a way. So he figured this would be a big town. So he moved here, built the mill pond. It was a booming town in the 1850s. Then what happened is, just before the Civil War, the railroad that he was counting on shifted, and it went through Holly instead of Ortonville. So Amos Orton was very despondent upon that, and he left Ortonville and moved to Fenton area. He eventually did move back to Ortonville when he was an old man and passed away. His family still lived here, or his daughter still lived here, and so he did die here, and he's buried up in the cemetery just up the road. So this museum was started in 1968 when the high school that is down by where the DPW is today, that high school was shut down and torn down, and it was a old historic building, and a lot of the artifacts that were in there started to disappear, and the community didn't like that. There was an organization called the Ortonville Women's Club, which had previously actually started what became the Brandon Township Library. The Women's Club said, you know what, we need to be able to capture some of those artifacts. We don't want them disappearing, and we need to really preserve them. So they decided to create a museum of some sort. So they started to collect the artifacts, and then they thought, where are we going to put this museum? By chance, this building, which was owned by the Hamiltons, old and dilapidated, Mr. Hamilton was trying to sell it, and he was unable to do this. It was really too old and dilapidated, and almost it wasn't really worth salvaging as a commercial property. But he happened to run into members of the Ortonville Women's Club developing this museum, and fortunately they said, you know what, Hamiltons would donate it to the Historical Society in 1868, and they did, and it was awesome. Now the place was really dilapidated, really beat up, but the men of the Historical Society put in a lot of blood and sweat and labor and actually fixed it up to turn it into the museum that it is today. So it was really a labor of love. In the 1980s, it became feasible, or more financially feasible, to sell it to the village of Ortonville. I think we sold it to Ortonville for $1. And with the idea that, we will sell it to you for $1, they will maintain it. The Historical Society would be permitted to operate here as long as we were in existence. And so Ortonville helps us out. They take care of the property, they take care of the outside, and any of the major features on the inside. And the Historical Society maintains the whole collection. So our relationship with them has been very good. Lately we have been working with Ortonville to turn this whole campus into another place where people can come and have activities. We're actually driving activities on our own. We're participating heavily with Ortonville with things like Septemberfest and Witches' Night and Christmas in the Village, but we're creating some of our own activities. We're going to have an art fair later in the fall, a fine art. It's called Art at the Mill. We'll be doing that. We have started activities. We're getting in on the M15 garage sale. which hadn't historically been done in Ortonville because we're off the beaten path just slightly. But we find that if we advertise and put vendors out on our museum campus out there, and make it specifically vintage as opposed to generic garage sale, that we're able to bring people here. And we do this, and we sell some items that we have in the mill that we are deaccessioning, that we no longer need to display. And we find that it's a great way to bring a lot of people into the museum when you have an activity out on the campus like that. So that's what's going on with the museum lately.
So like we talked about on the front porch, Echoes in the Iron, it's about music, but music's a tool for community. And Bill and I are strong believers that community and people are the most important thing, and shared values. And can you kind of talk to that, maybe about Ortonville overall?
Well, Ortonville is very unique because I would call it a little bit of the land that time forgot, but in a good way. It's just rural enough, but not too rural. I live right around the corner here. I have deer and turkeys and coyote that run through the property. Yet I can be at a major shopping mall in 20 minutes, but I'm not right by that. Ortonville attracts the type of people that think of a time long ago, a time when maybe you still had a blacksmith shop. And we do have a blacksmith shop on our property. I tell you, as a blacksmith, one of my best feelings is when someone brings in something that they need repaired. Usually it's like a shepherd's hook that they bought at a big box store, and they put too much weight on it. They put a big heavy plant and it bends in half, and they bring it to the blacksmith and we can fix it for them. There's a great feeling knowing that there's a blacksmith in your backyard that can still do this, still at a place where, yes, you can drive 5 minutes and be at a fast food restaurant, but we still have that sort of thing here. The folks that move to Ortonville are the ones that like that type of thing. They like to live where it reminds them perhaps of the good old days. I mean, sometimes people talk about the good old days. Did they really exist? Well, in a way they do in our mind, and we try to recreate some of that here. Ortonville has a lot of places where you can sit at picnic tables, little parks, strong sense of community. If I were to walk through the town right now, I would be waving at all sorts of people that I know. It'd be very easy to find someone I know walking down the street. And that's not very common in a lot of places. They've really grown too big for that. Whereas Ortonville still has that. If I go to a program at the library, I'll know a lot of the folks there.
So last thing, and then we'll wrap it up here. What's your vision of the future of Ortonville? Are we growing, staying? What is it?
My vision for the future of Ortonville is that we do not forget the reason why people like Ortonville. They do not want to be a generic type of village or city that you can find anywhere. We would like to have this old vibe. Growing, yes, but it needs to be the right type of growing, the type of growing where we still honor the traditions of our past. I hope we always do have a blacksmith shop. I hope we always do have a 100-year-old loom where we can weave rugs out of rags, and people come buy them and they're beautiful and people can buy them for their home. I hope that we do not end up with strip malls or very overly commercial type businesses, but that people, in Ortonville, Do we shop at big box stores, folks from Ortonville? Yes, but if there is a way that we can shop locally at things, if there are ways that we can solve those types of needs without going to the big box stores, yeah, we'll do it. And I hope that we can always do that. I find I'm happy when I find that I haven't gone too far out of Ortonville or Brandon Township for several days in a row because all of my needs are taken care of here in my small community.
All right. Anything else you want to add? I think we got it. Or
I think that you probably have it. I'm hopeful that the museum here is going to be here for a long time. Actually, I'll tell you that we do have a whole plan because many times historical societies, as I visit other historical societies in small towns, sometimes they fade into irrelevance. They put up their displays and they think, okay, someone's going to come look at our history, and they never change anything, or they become irrelevant to the community. They have trouble attracting members, they have trouble attracting visitors. Here at the Ortonville Historical Society, we have decided to be proactive to prevent those types of problems. So we've actually developed a whole strategic plan to prevent that. We're going to make sure that we're really building our community value, because we believe if we are perceived as building value for the community, by everyone in the community, by our civic leaders, by other social organizations, then things like support from our community leaders, members, and donors and all that, that'll all take care of itself. If people can't imagine Ortonville without the Old Mill Museum and the campus and everything that we offer, if they can't imagine a world without that, then we will be here for another 57 years.